Welcome to On the Ninth Day of Podmas. My InseQueer gave to me 9 nervous breakdowns. That's right. Welcome back to the podcast InseQueer, and I'm your InseQueer as fuck ass host, Chloe. And we're already on. I guess I just have to call it day 9. I always feel like I'm messing up the order, but I'm on the 9th jingle of this terrible song of my life, which is insecurities. And to be fully transparent, I have been struggling to push record on episode 9 because I didn't really know how to chronicle my 9 nervous breakdowns. Like I literally can give you like another countdown of like 9 times where I was really experiencing a nervous breakdown. But when I looked at my liner notes, I kind of wrote something to the effect of all of them feel the same, or like it's one continuous breakdown. And how, excuse me, I'm scratching, and how during the holidays, specifically for me as Chloe, that is usually where my breakdowns typically manifest, because I suffer from severe seasonal depression, but like not in the traditional sense of, oh, the sun is going down, I'm depressed, or the season has changed, I'm depressed. It's like literally the Christmas season that depresses me. And that's because I grew up very much like a I talked to you guys about that Talk Boy pen. I grew up with a very Kevin McAllister childhood, in the sense that like we had live Christmas trees and massive holiday exchanges and family and food, and my grandmother's house became alive and fun. And as a kid, I remember being sent upstairs very young while everybody downstairs are like making noise and engaging and laughing and talking. And it's probably the only time in my actual childhood where I was literally banished to the room of like, stay out of grown folks' business. And a lot of that is because my grandmother was someone who loved a full Christmas tree. So whenever she got our gifts, she would wrap them, which thanks to her, I am a wrapping supreme. Like I can wrap anything and make it look like you got it from Macy's, but thank you, Granny, for that. But I used to do this thing where I would be a tree trunker, meaning I was always under the tree looking at all the boxes to like outline which ones were mine. And eventually one time my sister kind of alerted the crowd that was something that I was doing. So my grandmother would stop doing it. So then it was this whole like, oh, spoiler alert, Santa hasn't come yet. When I'm like, y'all go out of his house every day to buy things. And I don't know. I never found their hiding place. I never figured out where they hid the gifts, when she had time to wrap them. Like the true Christmas spirit was always so magical, even if I didn't believe in the fat white ho 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 man, because my ho ho ho's in my life really gave me that childhood wonder. And being honest, I was someone who did not. And when we get to why I'm struggling today, it'll come full circle. But I was someone who, when those figures in my life started to pass away and holidays changed and Christmas wasn't Christmas, and like not Christmas because I was getting gifts, but Christmas because we were all together, we were jolly, we were happy, we had fun. When that changed, that's when my breakdowns started to occur, because I just dread the holidays, because I don't know how to tap into the feelings of Christmas. I don't know how to recreate them, or the family that I have left are not the financial players in my life, so they're not interested in helping carry on some of those traditions that my grandmother and everyone created for us. So Christmas breaks my heart. Christmas hurts. Christmas reminds me pretty much more than any. There's only 2 days that truly remind me that my family has been destroyed, and Christmas is one of them. And the other, ironically enough, is 4th of July, because we did that. 4th of July, I understand. Juneteenth, blacks weren't free. Hell, we still aren't free. But when I tell you the Becks, Williams, Davis clan, we did 4th of July, we did that shit. So those are the 2 holidays that really attack my spirit in a way that I didn't know how to chronicle that on this platform, because I was just like, with the growth that I've been doing, with the mental health work that I've been doing, they don't wound me the same way. Like I used to have like a timeline, like, okay, after Thanksgiving, start playing Motown Christmas, make sure you have dark liquor. I used to greet my depression as if I was a super host at an Airbnb. I used to say, come on in the room. And I would let it stay up until pretty much after my birthday. So from the months of December to March, I am depressed. I am hurt and bitter and angry and woe is me and ungrateful. I was all those things, but now I've matured in a way where now I can acknowledge the hurt, but I don't feel the hurt. So while I thought it was a cute jingle and we could talk about, I love telling y'all all my fucking business, so we can talk about it. But at the core of my 9 nervous breakdowns here in relation to the podcast is because Christmas is where I really feel them. Christmas is where I really lean into alcoholism, excuse me. I really lean into my breakdowns. And while I was so excited, I had cranked out 12, 11, and 10, but I was like, ooh, 9 is a hurdle. 9 is a struggle. 9 doesn't feel like I want it to because I don't feel the breakdown. And then on Saturday, so today is Monday, the 7th, if I'm not mistaken. So Saturday, I had plans with my partner. This was our only big outing that we were going to give ourselves for the month of December because, as you heard me chronicle, budget, finances. Also, COVID is the super host. But I've been working on showing up for people who requested and mean it and who I really believe that will show up for me. So I had agreed to go to a birthday brunch for a friend who, one thing that I hate that it will have to come up in one of my episodes is I hate brunches and I hate doing group gatherings. Even pre-COVID, I hate it. It's always so confusing. Who pays card? Who pays cash? I've had weight loss surgery, so most of the times the places that have the cutest photo ops pictures usually comes with this unlimited drink component and or you have to get this prefix meal and they don't let you share. So like me and my partner were very fortunate enough to have appetites and circumstances that allows us to share meals. So usually when you're going to one of these prefix group brunches, it kind of just, the money just starts to like accumulate because you have to kind of play their game in order to do the thing. So, but something that I said I was going to do, like along with that, it was one where it was like a reservation. So like you can't not go. So I had all plans, like Friday night specifically. It was rainy, it was cold. And my partner and I, like I have said numerous times, but if you haven't heard it, like we get dressed every Friday in New York, in Manhattan, as if we have somewhere to go. And we walk around the city hoping we find something that's worth the COVID risk or worse, being around people. Like, I mean, we think we want that, but also I don't know. But this particular Friday, for some reason, my energy was just low. And I was like, I'd much rather not catch myself out. A, it was cold as fuck. B, it was kind of that drizzly, snowy, unnecessary rain. And C, I didn't even realize that it was a brunch. I thought it was a dinner. So my partner's the one who's like, hey, we actually got to be all the way in the Bronx at 1 p.m. So many factors came into play why we didn't take our traditional walk. And Saturday, we get up, we are walking the dogs, we are casually like having our people communion, if you will. And as my partner was getting dressed, I happened to look on my phone and I went to Twitter and I saw something that I could not, I saw something that I could not register. I saw something that I in real time, I was telling myself, this can't be. Like, this can't be. This isn't. There has to be. It's not. And what I saw was on Twitter, they announced that my church burned down. Oh, my church, Middle Collegiate Church, led by Reverend Dr. Jackie Lewis, on the corner of 7th Street and 2nd Avenue, burned down. And I was able to go looking. I have a beautiful apartment with a lot of windows, and I could always see the steeple of my church from pretty much any window in my house. And I went to the one, and all I saw was smoke. And there goes the inspiration for my nervous breakdown, because I have been, well, before we get there, now keep in mind I have this brunch to get to, and I got this news at about a good hour and a half before we had to be en route in a car on our way to the other side of the world from where I live. And I'm so grateful for my partner, because she's like, do you want to go? I was like, yeah. Like I was, look at me. I am distraught now. I was distraught. I couldn't understand the magnitude of what was going to be, but I felt so many things. And when we got there, maybe even a block out, I saw so many fire trucks. I saw so much, and I was able to get to the corner of my church, and only the steeple is left. In real time, I'm working through this, because for those of you who don't know, during my previous podcast that I just have to wake it up now, I have to bring it back to life. That was the podcast. Me and my friend Chanel, we would wake up every Sunday, every other Sunday, and we would go to Middle Collegiate Church, because it is an LGBT friendly like home. It's not even LGBT friendly, it's gay. Now, my pastor is a heterosexual Black woman with dreadlocks, and I've chronicled how much I loved her all over the other podcasts, and how I had a crush on her, and how, but the church itself, built in 1892, is this beautiful building. It was the first time that I'd ever seen something in my life that made me think about Disney, and princesses and steeples and churches. Where I grew up, Black people don't necessarily worship. I've never experienced a church that was so traditional, and like, I can only say Lutheran, Protestant, castle-like experiences. So like, when you look at Middle Church, it's this big, it was this beautiful castle that just sat so beautifully in my neighborhood. And we would go and we would get the lessons. And when I say I had never sat in a place more beautiful. And the funny thing about, even when I started the podcast with Chanel, Overqualified and Drunk, I had already been, excuse me, I'm falling apart here, and I knew I should have brought tissue, but I didn't. So this is really happening right now. So hold on. So one of my breakdowns, ironically enough, one of my seasonal breakdowns, one of my Christmas heavy / moved here for a relationship that ended and you're lost breakdowns, one of those, like that one I could talk about. And it was to the point where I couldn't find a therapist, because the hardest thing to do when you're in crisis is do research to help you get out of it. Which is why I will always be an advocate for therapy. And I think you should go when you're happy. You should go when things are feeling good. You should go like a tune-up, if you will. Don't look for a therapist when don't look for a therapist when you need a therapist, because that, I tell you, is a recipe for disaster. And I tell you that as the chef of that same disaster, right? So while I remember it, I was laying in my bed and I was depleted and weak and broken. And it was one of those times where my gayness, my queerness felt wrong and unappreciated, and I felt alienated in my identities. And I felt like, once again, why would God give me this beautiful desire and want and wholeness to love women when every woman I keep engaging with reminds me that God or family or culture or religion or all these things are against something that just makes me feel so whole. So I just wanted to be around other queer people. And I Googled LGBT churches, and little did I fucking know, Middle Collegiate Church, for all of the trauma that I've experienced in New York City, within 4-block radius, this beautiful home was right there for me. And I went and I walked in and, I walked in and the warmth, the glow, the irony of Middle was almost as overwhelming as my depression. Because like I said, I just Googled it. I looked at it. I saw pictures of it. I was like, I don't know what kind of message or lesson. There's no way I'm going to be connected here. There is no way a building that looks like this is going to be for my Black, big, queer body. I have never in my life been more wrong. The minute you walk in, Black, white, Asian, Latinx, older, younger, wealthy, in despair. But when you walk into that church, we all mattered. We all I felt loved. So much so that I was trying to be small and sit in the back. I tried to be so small and just be a witness to Middle. But one of the junior pastors did, he walked, God's angels are real. He walked right up to me and got down on his knees as I sat there. He looked up at me because he could see how low I was. And he said, "What brings you in?" And I just said, "I am lost. I am so lost." And I can't fully quote him, but in me saying thank you for being a place for me to find her, he said, "Thank you for finding us, because you are exactly who we need. You are exactly who this place is for. You are exactly where you're supposed to be." I probably will not be able to put all of this on YouTube. I just had a snot bubble that was so gross, but fuck it. He said, "You are exactly where you need to be." And that was Middle. And when I tell you, I went there. And I claimed Middle, even though I was too InseQueer. I was too InseQueer and I'm mad today at me. I'm mad at me. I'm mad at me because I was too InseQueer to lean into the love, because every other message was telling me love is not for you. I didn't believe that I deserved Middle. I didn't believe that I deserved that kind of love, that kind of warmth, that kind of peace. I didn't know what I believed in terms of religion. So I was like, everything about Middle, every time I walked into that church, I was like, I gotta get involved. I gotta stay here. I need this Sunday to Sunday. But every time it came time for you to go to the altar or for you to stay after and meet with and talk and figure it out, I ran from it. And today, I want nothing more than to run to Middle. I walk past Middle collegiate church every day. If not every day, at least 3 to 4 times in its standard week, because it's in my backyard, because it's a part of my loop and my walking loop. And I'm so grateful that whenever I walked past Middle, summer, drunk, happy, sad, indifferent, oblivious to life, like Middle is the one place that wakes me up. Whenever I'm near that church, I stop and I look through those doors because I look through the doors and I see the chapel. And I smile and I say, that's my church. Whenever I see Pastor Jackie in this neighborhood, she don't know me from a can of paint. In reality, I don't think. But every time pre-COVID, and one amazing time in COVID, I will always stop her and I'll say, that is whoever I'm with. I'll say, hey, that's my pastor. That's my pastor. That's Jackie. Excuse me. And she will hug. She used to hug. I say, that's right. And I just always do this thing. I do it with my sneakers. I do it with my talent. I do it with everything. I always have to wait. And then I always find this shit out. I always have this moment where you realize waiting is too late. I'm too late. But I'm not too late because I promise I'm going to do whatever it takes to help rebuild Middle. And I know while I'm a novice and I'm InseQueer about my faith, I have faith today that Middle will be bigger, better, will reach more people. Hell, maybe this is a blessing because I had to lose Middle to know that I am a religious person. I had to lose Middle to know that I do want a home church. And not just any home church. I want Middle Collegiate Church. And when I talk about the one time in COVID when my pastor personified the revolutionary love that is Middle Collegiate Church. It's revolutionary what they do there. I've never seen anything like it. It's honest. It's genuine. Everyone, that is the one place where I will dare to say all lives matter, because when you walk into Middle, you can realize that you are in the middle of God's heart. You are in the middle of your home. You are the center. You are the center at Middle. And I stood there and I called Chanel, believe it or not. I called Chanel. I didn't know who else to call. She's who I did Middle with. Middle was our church. Middle was our church. So I FaceTimed her in her time zone and I just showed it to her. And I was so distraught that at the corner that I stood on, there. So what happened, what I suspect happened, there's nothing official, but Middle sat in the middle of a corner, which used to be like a brunch spot that had an apartment building on top. And on the other side of Middle was a woman's shelter. And I do want to take this time. I want to take this time and send my love and resources to the ladies in that women's shelter next door who also lost their piece of home. So, I'm standing on this corner where the brunch and the building was, which ironically enough, not ironically enough, 6 months ago, that corner apartment building next to Middle caught on fire. People lived in it, it caught on fire, to which it went vacant, which I suspect, with it being such a shitty, rainy, cold day, with us being a place where you could either be sleeping under the marquee, which I talked about on my podcast, or with a name on top, I suspect people who are experiencing homelessness just wanted a place that had a roof. And they went into that building, and I suspect that they were cold, and I suspect that they lit something to stay warm, and I suspect that's what happened and took away middle. But in that, I had never been so without air and wounded that, like, even in that, I had the camera positioned for Chanel to look at this building. And it wasn't until Chanel said, "Oh my God, it's gone." She's like, "Look through, it's gone." In my mind, I was thinking, like, because the steeple is so strong still, the facade of the front is so, it's not beautiful anymore, but it's there. And in my young, novice, wounded, childlike angst, I couldn't realize that I was looking through what used to be the sanctuary where I found pieces of me. And I stood there, and disbelief and the magnitude of it all, like, I cannot even understand what I've just seen. I can't even. We walked by yesterday, and I'm so grateful that I went when I did, because I got to be so much closer, because now it's so barricaded off. Like, it's like taking over the avenue. Like, it's big blockages now, because they're still smoking some spots. There's still, I'm sure there's still some hazards. Like, it's not like it looks war torn. It looks like a horror film. It looks like, it looks bad. It looks, I don't even like to say what it looks like. But in that anguish and all of that shit, and realizing here's the here's the irony of needing inspiration for this. I knew I had somewhere to go, and I was like, I have to go home. And as I turned to walk away, just in pure anguish, I see my pastor walking up the sidewalk. I see her with her team walking. I saw her be so strong. I saw her be so regal. I saw her be so angry, but only in the way that a Black woman can be angry in a time where you got work to do. I saw it in her face. But what I also saw was a calmness, a security. I saw a leader of a flock. And I let her kind of walk past, and she locked eyes with me. And I just, all those hugs from 2016 to 2018 that I skirted past because I didn't want her to see me. Because she had hugged me with her words. Middle had hugged me with its presence. And because I also don't think I deserve for someone to see me like that, because I don't think I'm good enough to present myself to them. I didn't think I was ready to commit to Middle, because I can't even commit to myself in most ways. But on that rainy day where I just witnessed my church, or what used to be my church, we locked eyes. I couldn't get words out, and all she could say is, "I love you." Okay? We love you. So, I don't know. I mean, after that, I went and I did what I did. That's not a part of the story, but Solange is right. You couldn't drink that pain away, because I fucking tried. I couldn't eat it away. I couldn't rationalize it away. I couldn't do anything away. But what I did do is I followed my pastor's lead. I instantly took to my social media, and I instantly did what I do best, and I brought awareness, and I shared her messages of, thank God no one was hurt. Because honestly, as detrimental to my mental health as this one is, as so much mourning has to come. Like when I talk to my partner about just pieces of the church, and I would talk to her about the rafters and this beautiful, almost Tiffany blue, but ancient wallpaper with gold trim. Or how you think it's going to be one thing based on how it looks on the outside. You can't judge a book because it's cold and historic and regal and gargoyle-esque. Middle looks like on the outside. On the inside, it's beautiful earth tones and golds and reds and purples and light. And Jackie has done things to this church that I will never, ever forget. And how the stained glass goes from damn near the bottom of the floor to the top. And how on any given day, I would get lost in one of those intricate details. Middle helped me just be calm and present and peaceful. I have been to a Middle Christmas Eve celebration. The only time I've ever felt so okay in a Christmas season since the loss of my family. Excuse me. Who was at that service? Middle was so good you never wanted it to end. The people, I saw people get baptized there. I saw us pray for the sick and the deceased there. I saw them plan for pride there. I was so amazed by the technology because Middle, you can also stream it online because it burned down on Saturday. On Sunday, I was sitting in church. Excuse me. This particular podcast breaks all of the rules. I'm not sorry. I just hope you can hear me through it. I thought I would get married at Middle. I always kept it to myself. I didn't want to jinx it. I used to be so envious and jealous and inspired by the couples who found love and found Christ and people who didn't look like they had to change so much to be a part of Middle. I was always scared I had to change. I thought I had to stop drinking and stop smoking and stop being so angsty and miserable, because if you accept God and love in a place like this, why would you want to show up that way? But one thing for sure, Middle does not ask you to change. Middle asks you to be exactly who you are, because that's who Middle wants you to be. And I told my partner, I told myself, I said, you know what? Once they figure this COVID shit out, I'm going. I did communion at Middle, right outside the front door. I just am, this is what bittersweet feels like. I told my partner that I now understand what Crystal says when she says words mean things, because I use the word devastated. Oh, I'm devastated. I'm devastated. I'm so devastated. And while I don't ever want to lessen the experiences that made me utilize that language, I now feel devastated in a way that I didn't know was possible. I've never felt attached to a place before. I can't even say I took Middle for granted. Like every time I was there, I was there. Every time I walked past, I was proud. Every time Jackie got arrested for Black Lives Matter or something like that, I'm tweeting her, I'm reposting her. But my pastor said something on Sunday in the service, and she said, and I quote, "This hurts so much because we loved Middle so much." Um, you don't know what you got till it's gone. And I loved middle church. Middle ministered to me when I was nothing. Middle gave me a blueprint for who I thought I needed to be in order to be a part of. This Chloe wants to be the social media person for middle, or the tech person for middle, or I had weight loss surgery and I didn't eat and I'm upset. So my stomach is doing some stuff. This Chloe was ready to bring her gifts to middle. And Jackie said, as shitty as this feels, she wouldn't say that. Think about what could come out of this. Think about the phoenix rising from these ashes. So maybe this is the Chloe. 9 breakdowns, maybe 10, or however many more to come. This is the Chloe who gets to be a part of that new vision. So while these 9 nervous breakdowns won't necessarily be about the fact that I can't get a Scotch pun, or the fact that my grandmother is dead, or the fact that I don't have a single person outside of my partner that I would care to buy a gift for or spend this holiday with. I don't think those were breakdowns. I think those were breakthroughs. Because how many times did I bring my ashes to middle and walk out a new phoenix? And I love Middle Collegiate Church, Dr. Jackie Lewis, the congregation, every kind face, everyone who has also had a middle experience and who can know what this hurt is, and the neighboring businesses and things like that. I love those things. I love New York City. I love my neighborhood. And now I have to be more honest in real time about the things I love, because in one instance, they could be taken from you. And I started the story about why I didn't go out on Friday, because I could not imagine. I know me and my partner, we'd have been out there and about there. I saw middle in the aftermath of the fire. But then I saw pictures of what it looked like in all the blaze. And I don't think I should have ever seen something like that in real time. So I'm grateful for the universe for keeping me inside. I'm grateful for my partner who saw the importance of me getting as close as I could while I could. I'm grateful for Jackie for stopping when of all the things that she has to maneuver and do, and the faces she has to put on, and the healing and all the shit, I will never forget that stop and that honesty in that moment. 9 nervous breakdowns. That is 9 necessary breakthroughs. So your girl is wounded, is hurt, is feeling all the feels, but I kind of wanted to talk about some wrap-up things. Seasonal depression is real. Holiday season depression is real. So many of us are mourning people who we lost years before COVID, and some of us have spent our first Christmases without those key players because of COVID. And some of us don't get to be with each other and hug each other and hold each other and love each other and be grateful for each other because of all the things. And whatever ways in which you can be connected or connect to someone, if there's some fights going on in your personal life, think of the person who you love or are mad at or bitter at or whatever, insert at. Think about them as middle church. The way you feel right now, However you feel about the situation, the person, the shit, they owe you money, they did this, they got you fucked up, all that, whatever that is, whatever they did, however it plays, whatever it is. If you woke up tomorrow and found out that they burned down to the ground, is that how you want to know that that's how your relationship ended? I don't have a lot of regrets in relation to Middle because I paid my respects daily. I stopped and I smiled and I loved and I felt warm and I hugged it and I kissed it and I talked about it. And while the brick and mortar is a gut-wrenching, devastating, I feel gutted like the building is. I'm thankful and I'm grateful for Middle Collegiate Church for showing me itself, for letting me, as someone who did not do all the commitment shit that you need to do to say you're in a church and all that stuff, for me to still feel like this and now have a ember in my spirit to make sure that Middle is whole again, so more people like me can have a place to bring their ashes to, so we can rise together. I'm so grateful that I loved Middle enough to now love it more than I thought I could ever love a building, a church, a religion. Look at that. That was so gross. I apologize. I'm going to get out of here because I need to make peace with this, because I need to record 85 more fucking episodes because I like to do things like this. Shout out to the 12 Days of Podmas. Thank you all for listening, tuning in. I'll be sending out links and things like that for you to donate. I'll definitely be updating you all on my, what I've been calling hashtag rebuilding Middle. Like, I'm going to definitely potentially chronicle a lot of that. And I think it would only be right that in season 2, I bring back the segment from my previous podcast, Overqualified and Drunk, this segment called Today in Church. I think I'm going to be bringing that back. I know I'm going to be bringing back Today in Church. And just like Jackie taught us, just like Jackie taught us, just like COVID has taught us, I don't have to be at a physical church to bring you the word. And I don't have to be with my physical Middle family to know that I'm held, loved, appreciated, and that Middle will be everything that we thought it was before again, and it'll be so much more. Probably not what you were looking for, probably not what I was going to say, but I'm so grateful for this space as always. Thank you for rocking out with me on the 12 Days of Podmas. Make sure you like, rate, share, donate to Middle Collegiate Church, follow Jackie Lewis on social media. All the links and stuff will be in the notes, wherever you see notes. For those of you who are viewing this via YouTube, I really do think I'm going to be authentic and leave it just like this with the snot dripping and all that as well. I am hurt, but thanks to Middle, I am whole. All right, y'all. Merry Christmas. Bye.